going on? What's going on? Man, this sucks in the East Coast, man. Damn. A couple of nice days, now it's down to 30 degrees again. Makes no damn sense. But anyway, so, a couple of days ago, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I put out a video because everybody was screaming, breaking news, Terrence Crawford versus Manny Pacquiao is official. Breaking news, Manny Pacquiao versus Terrence Crawford is official. And, just put out a video just, pretty much making people understand that, number one, if there's no money, there's no fight. That's the number one thing that you have to get situated, before anything. Everything else means absolutely nothing. So the fact that they would confirm that this fight was going on without having that part set made absolutely no sense. Then the other part, just when it pertained to Manny Pacquiao, to Bob Arum, that this guy's a pathological liar, and he has a recent history of putting out lies and being caught up in those lies. So you can't just automatically go by what he says, and you got to read in between the lines and seeing what pieces are missing, with the stories that's being told. You can't go by what the man says. You have to wait for everything to kind of pan out before you start putting out information there or believing him. For those who put out information, they need to stop putting out information that he spills out of his mouth until, things are pretty much like official or definite, or, all the parties and everything are saying, yeah, we're ready to go. That type, unless stuff like that's happening, you can't go by what, you can't go by what he's saying. You have to look at that man's history and go by that and understand that, because it's not a good look if you continuously just go by whatever he says or believe whatever he says. If you go by whatever Eddie Hearn says over and over and over again, and he gets caught up in lies over and over and over again, and you confirm news as being true when it comes to, like, let's say, a Bob Arum or Eddie Hearn over and over and over again, and you keep being wrong every time, it gets to the point where people stop having credibility in you. So I think people really, and you could see it from people, people like, I was really hoping that this is it. I was really hoping that this was going to be the one. I was having belief in it, that this was going to happen, because I wanted this to happen for Terrence Crawford. I wanted to see this. This would have been great for him. This would have been, just a great look for him, especially him trying to get this fight for so long. That's that love for boxing part that I always say. That's why I always say, don't let the love of boxing blind you to reality. And a lot of people allow it to do so. When they want something just so bad, it's like blinders on sometimes, where you're looking at it and this might be BS, but now I'm going to put out that positive energy. I'm going to put out that positive energy and, you know what I mean? And hope that this actually comes to fruition. You can't do that. You can't do that when it comes to news, when it comes to information being put out, when it comes to these promoters, even when it comes to these fighters. You got to be cold-blooded with it. You got to be cold-blooded with it and just look at facts and look at history. Look at the way people move. That's why I can call what Eddie, if Eddie Hearn is, for the most part, is telling the truth about something or not from a mile away, just because of his pattern. I know his pattern by now. Bob Arum, same thing. I know Bob Arum's pattern by now. So when it comes to Bob Arum, it's not hard for me to tell when he's out of his, talking out of his tail or not. I know his patterns already. I know his pattern. Even with PBC, I know the patterns and how they flow and how they do things. So when people say, oh, this is not happening, or why, it's like, no, it's going to be fine. This is still going to happen. Or that's still going to happen. These are the things that are going to happen, in order for these fights to come into fruition. Like with Earl Spence. And, when he was having the issues with Terrence Crawford, not with Terrence Crawford, he's having issues getting fights with, like, the Keith Thurmans and the Danny Garcias and the Sean Porters. Everybody's, he should just F it, man, and just sign a top rank. At least you get the fight. So you might not make as much money, but you might have to deal with some issues, but you're still going to get the fight. And I was like, no, he doesn't need not to do that. That's stupid. Be dumb and go to that organization and start getting duped and pimped out and robbed of your money and not being promoted right, not being pushed correctly, just asinine because certain guys don't want to fight you. That's asinine, And I said he will progress himself to a point where the funds will be in a space where these guys will fight him. And that's what ended up happening. Because they end up putting him they put the money up when it came to him fighting during the Olympics. They put that bread up, like $20 million to get that slot where he got 6 million views. You know, they gave him other fights that pushed him and moved him up and progressed him. You know, and then he did his part by doing the interviews, going to the different fights. The same thing Deontay Wilder, you know, was doing. The things that, you know, Gary Russell refuses to do to progress himself in his career, they all did. He did those things. And because of that, he put himself into a space where he could get those fights. Where those guys are like, all right, I'll fight him because the money is there now. And then PBC set up the fights. That's how they operate. When two guys want to fight each other, they will fight. When, you know, when it comes to a place like Top Rank, when it comes to them, unless you're signed to them, they're not setting up those heavy fights for the most part. 99.9% of the times, they're not doing it. They're not doing it. You know, so Manny Pacquiao comes out and his team comes out. The president says, yo, the president of his company comes out and says, the talk of, you know, us fighting that guy is all BS. That's not happening. He's talking out of his tail. We're not going to, you know, we will not be fighting that dude. You know, we're not in no negotiations like that. You know, nothing is confirmed. This whole pay-per-view on this date and everything, it's all BS. It's just Bob Arum and Michael Kans, who was Manny Pacquiao's old manager, who was part of, you know, Manny Pacquiao being robbed. You know, he used to be part of, you know, taking money out of Manny Pacquiao's pocket. Bob Arum used to actually give him money. They set up a company, both of them together, where all of Manny Pacquiao's money used to go into that particular account, and they would just keep that money and give Manny Pacquiao a certain portion. They stole so much money from that dude. So much money from that dude, and you know, as soon as he got signed to Al Heyman, one first thing was like, yo, you need to get rid of that dude. You know, because he's pimping you out, he's stealing your money, he got to go. You know, and he just basically showed Manny Pacquiao all the places where they just taking money from him and how they're doing him dirty. You know, so of course Michael Kans is still going to be, you know, riding with Bob Arum, still going to ride with him because, you know, he helped Bob Arum stack up a whole lot of bread off of Manny Pacquiao. Took a lot of money from him. If you notice, Manny Pacquiao he smiles a whole lot more than he used to. He got pimped to a step that he didn't really have before. You know, because all those things, all that gate money he's supposed to get, he's getting it. All those television rights he's supposed to get, he's getting it. You know, every time they show his fights and things of that nature, he's getting a check. He's going to get a check off those now. He's getting what he's supposed to be getting. You know, he's getting what he's supposed to be getting now. So he's happy, understanding that. You know, and he will fight Terrence Crawford if you get that $40 million. If you get that $40 million, then absolutely yes, he would fight Terrence Crawford. But he would have to get paid right. You know, you'd have to come through with that money the way that those funds are supposed to be if you want that to happen. And they didn't have that. You know, it was all the same old Bob Arum, you know, BS lies. You know, that's all that was. The same old Bob Arum BS lies. You know, and same thing with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Same type of thing. So at some point, and then now it's, oh yeah, Teofimo, we're going to try to get this fight with, you know, Devin Haney. So everybody's somehow getting hyped up for that. Oh, he's pressuring Devin Haney. I mean, he's pressuring Teofimo Lopez. You know, he's going to push Teofimo Lopez into fighting Devin Haney. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said, well, we'll try to set up the fight, you know, with Devin Haney or with Javante Tank or with Ryan Garcia. You know, we'll try to set up a fight like that for pay-per-view. He's going to be on pay-per-view definitely in his next fight. You know, we'll try to get those guys. That's what he said. He said, we'll try. Which means he ain't doing nothing. Their focus and their goal is to keep Teofimo Lopez under their banner, you know, and to continue to move the way that they usually move. It's just that Teofimo Lopez might be a thorn in their side, and he might really try to progress his, you know, career in ways that a lot of these guys usually didn't do until they were pretty much like in their 30s. You know, where Teofimo is like trying to break out of, you know, that cycle, and he's woke to what Bob Arum is and what Bob Arum might try to do to his career, and he has a certain understanding of what he believes he's worth, and he's making sure he gets what he's worth now, regardless of what anybody says. So you gotta respect that. You know, you gotta respect that. So, but we'll see what happens. But you know, if Manny Pacquiao's even gonna fight, we probably would know in a couple of weeks. But who knows, man? Manny Pacquiao might be like, you know what, I'm good. I got my fighters fighting on PBC. You know what I'm saying? I got this residual money that's coming in. I got paid handsomely for my last 2 fights. I got paid a good amount of money. He's with Al Heyman, so you know real estate and things of that nature being purchased, where that soft income is coming in every month now. So he might be like, I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay. He might, because I think he has 2 fights. I think it's going to do, he might end up fighting a Mikey Garcia, then fighting Earl Spence. He might just chill, and then just, after Earl Spence done with his next fight Earl Spence next. Who knows? He might fight Earl Spence next. Who knows? Or he might, he might just not fight at all. And then after that, I see him probably doing, least worst case scenario, 1 fight in the Philippines. He's going to fight 1 time in the Philippines for his people. Or he might just go out and do exhibitions. People are getting paid millions of dollars to do exhibitions now. He might just do that. Maybe we'll see Manny Pacquiao versus Marquez in an exhibition. And he'll just do that. Who knows? But for now, like, subscribe, share. I'm out.